London, 1872. I have entered into the service of a new gentleman. It would seem he is a gambling man. And with that, hello everyone, Holiday Wither here, and welcome to a brand new series playing 80 Days. 80 Days is a fun and quirky, sort of choose-your-own-adventure story where you must travel around the world in 80 days and choose your decisions wisely. Because if you don't, that's the end of the game. But the reason I decided to play this game is because I haven't played through much of it, but through what I've played, it seems like a really fun game to play. And I think it'd be a fun series to Let's Play as well. So that's what I'm here to do, and let's begin. And we start in London. Let's begin. Begin. And before I continue, let me know if the volume is too loud or too quiet. I always ask this at the beginning of a new series, just so I can know for the next episode if I need to change it or not. But let's begin. Monsieur Phileas Fogg returned home early from the Reform Club, and a newfangled steam carriage besides. I helped him down, and the iron-lunged, steam-driven horses clattered away. "Passport," he said. "We're going around the world." So, around the world, monsieur. Or, very good, monsieur. So, let's say around the world, monsieur. I asked, utterly astonished. "We shall circumnavigate the globe within 80 days. He is quite calm as he proposed his wild scheme. We leave for Paris on the 8:25 in an hour. But I have not prepared. You are in jest." This was a shocking turnabout. "But I have not prepared," I said wretchedly, quickly trying to organize a list of necessary items in my mind. "Then do it now. Pack an altimeter and my evening jacket. There's not a moment to waste. You, Passport, now have funds. Your character is now steadfast." So, by choosing your actions as well, it will also determine how your character acts and what your items are as well. And of course, there's many routes you can choose, but we only have one route. 4,000, I don't know what currency that is, but we have 4,000 currency. It's Tuesday, day 1, 7:18. Well, let's pack our bags. So, we need the altimeter, and we need the evening jacket. Because he said to bring those two things. But now, we could either bring a wax cylinder, which is inscribed with marks describing a recording of a symphony, a European shipping timetable, or some playing cards. You know, I think I'm going to bring playing cards. I know I might need to bring the European shipping table, but I think that's good. Our completed Englishman's wardrobe should help us negotiate times of upper-class journeys. And with that, we have nothing else to do, so we can actually click off the map and see where we need to go if we want to look. And as you can see, there's nowhere that needs a boat nearby, so let's embark out to Paris. Now, you might also notice you can do depart, and that just departs you to the current area. So let's embark. 1 luggage, 0 health. Let's go. Amphitheater Express. The guard's van space has 1 suitcase, which will suffice travel. This looks like a bearable experience. Let's go. And off we go to the Amphitheater Express. And we can open our luggage to look at things, but there's nothing to do. The mechanical horses raced past Piccadilly Circus in Pall Mall faster than a team of thoroughbreds. Even so, the whistle of the 8:25 was blowing as we pulled up to the Charing Cross station. "We have no tickets," I exclaimed in horror. "That does not signify," Monsieur Fogg remarked over his shoulder as he hurried toward the platform. "We must not miss the train." Well, we could either rush after him and leap aboard, or we could go for the ticket booth. You know, to be safe, I'm going to ask for tickets. But I dashed to the ticket booth, judging that there was a moment to spare. Elbowing a few ladies and gentlemen. Well, do we want to rush or go by queue? You know, we're in a rush. Monsieur Fogg's probably not going to wait for us. We'd probably miss the train. So I'm going to elbow aside a few people. Elbowing aside a few ladies and gentlemen who were ambling about as though this were the Brighton Pier and not a busy train station. 2 singles to Paris, I demanded breathlessly. The guard raised his pen with agonizing slowness. "Leaving tomorrow," he intoned. "I'm aiming for the 8:25 departure," I replied coolly. "Are you now?" the man replied with obvious amusement. "Well then." He drew a metal tube from one wall and spoke into it. "Geoffrey, hold the 825 a minute, won't you? I've got a fellow here running late." I thanked him profusely. The guard nodded and described one ticket, then the other, and passed them slowly to me. I made my way back to the train where the redoubtable Geoffrey was waiting. Flag raised for me to step aboard. I'm gonna say I leaped onto the train without a backwards glance. The flag dropped and we were away. We were passing Dratford when I located Monsieur Fogg in one of the compartments. He looked up briefly and returned to his newspaper. I told the ticket inspector that you would be appearing presently. He remarked, unperturbed. "Your funds have gone down a little. Your character is now zestful. We only lost 5 currency, so not that bad." Wait, 5? No, 45, I think. I'm not good at math. So while we wait, let's converse. "I'm at your service, Monsieur Fogg." "Ah, the bumbling passport." "So do we want to talk about money or the journey?" "Well, considering I have nowhere we're gonna go, let's talk about the journey." "But tell me, monsieur, what is the purpose of our journey?" "I have made a hefty wager, and I do not intend to lose." This journey will be most expensive, monsieur." "Indeed, but we can earn a little from buying and selling our possessions as we travel." "Very good." And with that, we should now be able to get to where we need to go. London's smog gave way to rolling hills and the pastures of the Kentish countryside, still untouched by the hand of technological advancement. Monsieur Fogg read his paper while I repacked our bags. We passed the day in silence. "Well, let's do this." While I repacked our bags, thrown together in hasty confusion, as afternoon turned inexorable to evening, I discovered that my master was one of those gentlemen who broke their silence rarely, if at all. A guard rapped on our door. A few miles before Dover. "We're about to submerge," he warned. "Takes some people a bit funny, so watch out." "What do you mean submerge? But it is safe, is it not?" "Very good." "Well, it probably means the daylight, so very good," I replied, as though submerging inside a 1,000-ton metal train was quite ordinary for me. "If you feel claustrophobic," the guard replied, "try running up and down the corridor. I always find that exercise helps." With that, he closed the door. I cannot help a shiver. I pressed my face to the window glass. Would Monsieur Fogg be claustrophobic? I pressed my face to the window glass as the fins above the amphitheater's wheels extended with a hydraulic hiss. Night fell and we plunged past the edge of the track into the freezing water of the English Channel. "Oh, our relationship has improved?" Well, I guess maybe he didn't want to be bothered, so I guess that makes sense. So now we're doing that, and we seem to be traveling pretty fast. And the amphitheater plowed through the water overnight and splashed onto water-gauge front tracks as calcareous as dawn brew. "Do you have a route in mind, monsieur?" I began to consider what might require for our journey. Let's ask him if he has a route in mind, because that might help us get through quicker. I asked as the water of the channel dried from the compartment windows. "I'm yet undecided," my master admitted. "The new canal has sped up the shipping route from Suez to Bombay, though perhaps we can take the Trans-Siberian Railroad across Russia." Oh, Russia or Bombay? Well, surely not Siberia. I'm assuming that's cold. I exclaimed, "Yeah, he's right. It's so cold and grim, and I have a particular fear of bears." "Then we would do well to buy furs," he replied, refraining from rolling his eyes. "There are other alternatives. We have also traveled over land and across the Black and Caspian Seas." Which is fastest and which is safest? You know, since we're just starting, I'm gonna ask what is the safest. Monsieur Fogg raised an eyebrow. "There is no place in the world which is not safe for an Englishman," he said coolly and with great finality. "Parbleu, I scarcely know what to think." We arrived at Paris Gare du Nord just after 1 o'clock. Automaton ponters lifted our luggage and then our persons onto the platform with long, delicately filigreed iron arms. Paris, city of my heart. I was home, but not to stay. And we have arrived, so new routes discovered. We have Suez to Jeddah, to Aden. Oh man, we're already going off to Bombay. Or Moscow to Ekaterinburg, to Omsk, to to Karamasca, 2 rivers to there. We're not even there already. We're just getting into Paris. Some of our possessions would trade well here. So bank, 2 hours, explore, 4 hours, or market. Well, let's go to the market. So we can buy an extra suitcase for 10. And tucked away. So we have geometry equipment, traveling cloak, shaving kit, and some wine. So, we can sell a lot of things. Well, I'm gonna buy an extra suitcase. Can I buy one? So what do we need? What is this? A set of geometric drawings, precisely made, a traveling cloak. Well, I heard that we could travel over land. So let's buy a traveling coat. And I think that's all I want to buy. So I think we're good. So let's explore for 4 hours, shall we? And apparently we have a bunch of new routes unlocked. We had a few hours to spare. I asked Monsieur Fogg if I might enjoy my city before we had to leave. Indeed, and should you learn anything of note, be sure to relay it. I nodded and headed into town. The talk on the streets was one of one thing only, an enormous, elegant oval stadium constructed upon the green fields of Champ de Mars and containing the technological marvels, art, amusement parks, and milling crowds of the World's Fair of 1872. My city wore the scars of last year's siege. I ventured inside, but I was certain Monsieur Fogg did not intend me to visit fairs. So I enjoyed a brief cup of coffee and then returned to my master, armed with some options for the next leg of our journey. Relationships have improved slightly. Well, we could spend the night, or we could plan. Now, we could go to Vienna, which arrives on Saturday. I rather think this departure could be adjusted. Oh, let's negotiate. The Englishman's wardrobe should yield results. Ah, there we go. For having the whole Englishman set, we should be able to yield some results. Most generous. Haha, no charge tomorrow. The ticket will require a further 250 currency. I will actually take that. And since we can't do anything, let's go to the hotel and pass the night on to day 3. We took a hotel for the night. We'll be comfortable here, Monsieur Fogg remarked, but traveling overnight will often be more efficient. Okay. So if we want to be efficient in our journey, I guess we could go overnight, but I guess it depends. So we must board the longest journeys available. Perhaps, he replied, the short answer indicating, I think, that one-day journeys might often be more flexible in their timing and could allow for more connections. Still, the surroundings of the Hotel Ritz were most enjoyable. So now we should be able to depart to Vienna, right? Embark. The overhead rack has spaces for 1 suitcase, but we have 2. Well, considering I still have a lot of money, I'm gonna hire a space in the guard's van. I know. Oh, that's 5 suitcases now. Now, I should be careful with my money, but I guess I'll learn the hard way eventually. Boarding the Orient Express was an altogether calming affair than our race through London had been. Mechanical porters loaded us through the windows, then snapped them shut with a delicate click. The train was very beautiful. The train was extremely fast. The train would be the first leg of a much longer journey. Let's say the train was extremely fast and could sweep us across the whole of Europe, or at least as far as that area where the track currently seized. A last long whistle blew, and we began our journey east. Well, let's converse with him. Usually conversing's nice. Greetings, monsieur. Can I help you at all, monsieur? I am the guard on this train. Well, we're talking to the guard. I thought we were talking to Monsieur Fogg. But let's talk to him about Vienna. I need to know about Vienna. They say all the musicians in Vienna are drafted in the military. About this route, Vienna, Venus, Vienna... Well, let's ask about Vienna, Venus. Is there a route from Vienna to Venus? Perhaps, but tell me, have you been to Bordeaux? No, I have not. My apologies, I have not. Ah, a shame. I wanted to ask if it was a nice spot for a honeymoon. Let's ask about Rome. Is it possible to get from Rome? Seems unlikely to me. Budapest. I believe so. One can travel in a private car from Vienna to Budapest, but the journey is a tiring one. Goodbye. Ah, so now we know how to get to Budapest, but it says it's tiring, so that must put an impact on our health. My master wished to be undisturbed, so we left Paris. I barred a compartment door, I left him and went to explore the train. Well, he wants to be undisturbed, so I'm going to leave him for now. There was a delightful dining car and an observation deck formed by the replacement of an entire compartment with an open glass cube. Interesting. I'm going to watch the scenery flash past, and as I stood, a portly gentleman with a quivering, luxuriant mustache struggled by carrying several trunks. Well, he might offer us something, so let's offer him his aid. I offered him my aid, and he introduced himself as after a shower of thanks. Henry de Blotis, foreign correspondent of the Times. I introduced myself in return. My name is Passepartout, and my master and I are going around the world. Then I wish you luck, he replied. He patted his breast pocket. The stories that you hear. It seems everywhere is on the brink of a revolution or another. Everywhere there's progress, but who will count the cost? That sounds most ominous, I told him. Does it? He replied with a beaming smile. Well, I am a journalist. It's my duty to make omens. Good day to you. With that, he clapped me on the shoulder and headed off in the direction of the dining car. You know, I'm interested in this person, and we still have time, so let's follow him. I followed him and found a few groups of people talking quietly. I want to continue with this one person we helped. He might have some more information for us. I sat with Deb Blotz, and we passed an awkward few hours as he drank his way through cup after cup of coffee and talked of nothing but his tailor. I think we should leave him. Seems to have nothing. I left him politely, and I returned to Monsieur Fogg, who, to my surprise, looked up from the paper at me. What did you learn? He inquired. Nothing, I told him. He tutted. Really, Passepartout? You must do better than that. You are my valet? Valet? You must discover the lay of the land. Yes, monsieur. Your character is now dependable. Okay. And with that, we are getting closer to Vienna. And we should arrive. We arrived at Vienna in the early hours of the morning. The customs officials insisted on searching our bags. Of all things, artificing tools. I carried the official. Foreigners are forbidden from making automata within the borders of the Austro-Hungary Empire, he appeared with a bored expression. Strange state of affairs. But I was hardly an artificer, and so it mattered little. The sun rose in the sky as we left the station, illuminating the wide, tree-lined avenues of Vienna in pale, welcoming light. And with that, we finally arrive into Vienna. There seems to be no departures today. We should explore a little. Well, considering there's nothing to do, let's explore. And we found some new routes. I did not see a single flesh-and-blood soldier in Vienna, the city of music. My dear friends, the rumors are quite real. The Austro-Hungarian Empire's might is built upon its armies of mechanical men. They are a magnificent sight. The powers fate their pewter faces are homogeneously handsome. They are a magnificent sight. They are a magnificent sight, ranged in gleaming rows on the wide Parisian-style boulevards. Their enamel uniforms shine to a polish. As I watched, I was approached. Well, I hurried away. Well, let's do the first one. I was approached by a bookish fellow who hurried out from under the impressive eagle-arched portcullis of the Zenghaus, the Imperial Armory. You think them fantastical? He demanded, a curious tone in his voice. Glorious, I replied. Beautifully crafted. They are more impressive than you can imagine, he stuck out his hand. Herr Danzer, apprentice engineer of the Imperial... That name. We went to a cafe to talk. I plied him with wine. I shook his hand and moved on. Well, let's go to a cafe and talk with him. And once he started, he would not stop. Have you noticed none of the mechanical soldiers carry weapons? He hissed. What do you make of that? It's most unusual, I agreed. Beside each one is a Mozart Haydn device, perfectly tuned. Herr Danzer replied, the song the soldiers sing is one of devastation. A battalion in harmony can punch through a steel wall. He drew a gilded flute from his scabbard and laid it on the table, looking at it thoroughly. You're a magician yourself? I asked. Not really, he replied, shaking his head. an inconsolable expression on his soft features. I'm just a member of the Musketeers, and I'm gonna butcher a lot of names, aren't I? I cannot reproduce his entire explanation, for it is rather touched by my German, but it seems the mechanical armories of Austro-Hungary are controlled by music. Will you be staying in the city tonight? He asked. I hope not. We must travel as far as possible. Why do you ask? I inquired. He glanced about him before replying. The army is preparing itself. Events are on the move here. If you stayed, you would see for yourself. Is it worth seeing? I persisted. You're traveling, he replied. The army is traveling. And to Belgrade. What of you? Will you ever leave Vienna? I dream of it, he confessed. As a boy, I longed to join the Artificers Guild. But for someone born in this country, it is impossible. The Caesar and the Guild are sworn enemies. I pitied his circumstances. To have his gifts twisted to a terrible purpose, not of his making. Alas, I could only commiserate. He took his flute once more and sadly put it away, and I gently took my leave. I strolled back along the avenues, watching the city pass by with new eyes. Under its gilded and manicured beauty lurked something sharper and more bloodthirsty. Vienna was at once the city of music and the city of war. Well, let's depart. So we can go to Budapest, Warsaw, or Venice. I might go to Venice, to be honest. Wait, go back. One sec, I need to see this. If you stay in Vienna, you'll see things are moving fast. The army is traveling. Interesting. So we could stay or we could move on. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to end this first episode off here. We've traveled quite a bit and got to see the basics of how things are going on. So, for now, this is Holiday Wither signing off. Hope you've enjoyed the first episode of 80 Days, and if you have, make sure to spread word about this video, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a nice day!